wrestling feels like home to me. So, like, what better way to sit down and relax than by watching wrestling? And sometimes it's hard to do that because I'm now a wrestler, but to sit there and to like watch a match and go, oh, that was really cool, is nice to be able to escape from the real world.
Welcome back to Grapple Theory. Thanks so much for joining us once again. We're joined by a very special guest today, someone who made their pro wrestling debut earlier this year and has really been making a name for themselves on the scene with all the hard work they've put in over the last few years. I'll introduce them now. It's Skylar Rose. Skylar, thank you so much for coming on the show. How have you been?
Yeah, really good. How about yourself?
Not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. Thank you for asking. I mean, like I said in that intro, it's been a pretty crazy year for you. Would that be fair to say?
A little bit of an understatement, it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah, you've had a lot going on. Obviously, you've been working super hard to sort of like achieve this dream of becoming a wrestler. We're going to talk about that debut match you had with Liam Slater as well in a little bit. But like, just first off, I mean, like, where does that fire come from, that drive? Like we spoke about just before recording, how hard you work, the travel you do, like week in, week out, how much you're putting into this. Where does that like fire come from for you to want to put as much into this as you possibly can?
It sort of started in the back end of November, so I was already doing one-to-one training sessions with Liam at that time anyway, and training there anyway, but I was like, I want to see if it's actually possible for me to make my debut. I was in my own head and I was like, it's not gonna happen. Like, there's no way. And then I was like, well, how about we test that? We see if we can actually make it happen. So when January hit, I was doing like 4 sessions across 3 days, and I was just going and going and going and going and going. And by sort of March time, Liam said to me, I think we need to start getting your gear ready. And I was like, oh, this is actually going to happen then. I didn't think it was possible. This is scary.
Was that like the first moment you'd considered it possible? Like, obviously you've been putting in the work for a while before that, but like when Liam says it, when Liam gives that sort of like validation of it, is that the moment you believe it's possible? Or were there maybe like inklings before that where you were like, okay, no, it's going to happen?
There was a session takeover that Pursuit does quite often, and in March, I think it might have been just before Liam had told me, I can't exactly remember the dates, but I think it was just before, and it was with Lana Austin, and we were doing matches there, and when Lana got in the ring and was like, I'm so proud of you and how far you've come, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is possible. Like, if Lana believes in me, maybe I should believe in me. And if Liam believes in me, I should definitely believe in me. Like, and it all started to build from there, and I was like, wow, like, this is cool. And then I think it was about 2 or 3 days after that where he was like, I think it's time to get gear. And I was like, okay, I trust you.
And that's the like shit yourself moment then after that. You're like, oh, okay.
So I knew it was going to happen. It happened in May, and obviously I knew in March. So I was like, one, I've got to keep this quiet, and 2, it's like, now I've got to get in contact with gear. Like, I've got to try and get gear. I was going through the process of doing that, and then gear arrived, and then when I put the gear on, I was like, okay. it all started to build up, and I was like, no, this is actually going to happen. And how insane is this that this is actually going to happen? And then I got in my own head a little bit, which happens, it's wrestling. And then Liam was like, no, we've got this. Like, we've absolutely got this in the bag. And before I knew it, it was May, and then there was no avoiding it because it was coming.
Too late to pull out at that point. Too late to...
Exactly.
I was going to say, because, like, again, we'll get into it in a little bit, is, like, sort of, like, there's a sort of wider backstory to you getting into wrestling that I'd like to get into, but more so, like, in terms of just sort of taking it back to the beginning, when you started training, was it with the purpose of getting in the ring as a wrestler, or was it more of, like, a sort of, like, a fitness, like, doing something kind of thing, without necessarily that being the end goal?
I feel like to begin with, it was more a case of like, I want to see if my body can handle it. Because at the time I was like a lot smaller than I am now. And every time I take a bump, I'll be like, wow, this sucks. And I mean, I know it's not normal to throw yourself on the floor, but I was like, wow, this is not very a pleasant experience. And now, obviously, I'm like, oh, you want me to throw myself on the floor? Sure, no problem. Like,
It's second nature, easy.
But back then, when I was smaller, I was like, oh, I'm not sure. And then there was like a 2-year kind of gap between then and then me returning and being like, okay, no, I want to do this and see how far we can take it. So I think to begin with, it was just more like we'll see what happens. And then when I come back in September, so all in was last year. And then I came back in September and I was like, no, I'm gonna do it. And I'm actually gonna like commit to it. And then here we are.
Yeah, and again, like we talked about it. We talked about it before we started recording. Just the work you put into, again, get to that point from September to now. Like, it's a lot of travel. It's a lot of training. I know as well. Like you mentioned, like the Lana session. You've traveled to like do other sessions as well, like run by like other wrestlers, like all across the country. Like that's serious dedication to it. I mean, when you're making those trips, again, like say like before the debut, like is there that point where you're like, oh, is this going to be worth it? Is this all going to be like all this hard work I'm putting in? Is it going to be worth it in the end?
I feel like for me, it was more like it's a learning experience. So like, let me go and learn from different people. So I think I did Grizzled Young Veterans in November. So that was in North at Newcastle, and that was 10 hours on a coach, and that was the worst travel I have ever done in my life. But I would do it again in a heartbeat. Like, if there was somebody else offering another opportunity like that, of course I would take it. Like, it's wrestling. You've got to take these opportunities. But it was like the worst travel of my life.
What are we talking, like delays and stuff, or?
So I got to London. I'd gone to Catch 22, I think the day before, to do some training. And then I'd gone back into London to catch a coach to take me there. And my coach just wasn't there. And I was like, has it left without me? And it did leave without me.
Oh.
Like, they didn't actually make any announcements that it boarded or anything. So I was like, cool. Now what do? I'm stuck here. So they put me on a megabus, and a megabus goes to like every single place you can think of, like Sheffield, Nottingham, Leeds, Derby. It just stopped like every 5 minutes, it felt like, and I was like, this is awful. I did eventually make it there, and it was a great session. And then like, when was it? I think it was in June, I had GYV again in another seminar at Burning Heart. So like, it's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, like who better to learn from, right? Give to the great. Like, they're two of the best the scene has produced. Like,
yeah, GYV, Mark Andrews, Ricochet Page, and Trent Seven. So like, what a team!
It's a very rounded experience, isn't it? Like, as far as wrestling goes as well.
For sure.
I mean, like, I assume, again, given we're going to talk about in a sec as well, given the people you're sort of squaring up to, wanting to face in the ring at the minute, I imagine Ricky Shane Page is probably top of the list of people you called out there, right?
I mean, Ricky Shane Page is one of my favourite wrestlers. So to be able to have that experience and to learn off of him, and you know, even sometimes when I was a bit nervous about doing something, like getting on that top rope is not as easy as it looks. And when he said, like, let's do top rope squats, I was like, Ricky, I don't think I can do this. And he helped me, and he was like, you'll get it in no time. And then I think that was on a Saturday, and on Tuesday I went in to training with Liam, and by the end of that session, I was doing top rope squats. And I was like, okay, I can do it.
That's awesome. That's crazy quick progression as well. That's super cool. That's like, that's got to be super cool in your own mind as well, just being like, oh shit, like that went fast, I did that really quick, I like jumped from this to this. It's
great to have Liam because he believes in me so much. Like, I've had so many good coaches. Sam Bailey, Chris Ridgway, Lana Austin, I've had Flash Morgan Webster. Like, that is a solid team of people. And they all believed in me every step of the way. And then to be with Liam, where I'm at now, and Nathan Black as well, to have them believe in me and be like, no, you can do it. Like, you've absolutely got this. And then for me to do it, it's like so satisfying to be like, oh wow, I actually can do this.
I mean, like, Liam is that guy. Liam is that guy, isn't he? Like, in terms of, like, obviously, and Nathan as well, won't discredit Nathan at all, like, for the work they do. Like, again, PPW is somewhere where we've had so many wrestlers on who talk about just, like, how they are, who they are. I guess the one that stands out the most, like, was, like, Liam Slater. We had him on, like, a few years ago before he got signed to TNA, but, like, just as he sort of started blowing up. And he talked about just, like, the belief that Liam puts in you as like, wanting to be a wrestler or as a wrestler, where he's like, no, you can do this. Or if you're struggling with something, he's like, oh, why don't we try it this way so you can do it? Like, he basically, the vibe I get is that, like, he never quits on you, essentially. He's, like, always thinking of another way to make sure you can do the thing you want to do.
Absolutely, like, couldn't be more true. There's certain things that I can't do. I can't, let's face it, I'm not going to be able to throw somebody across a ring anytime soon. But there are certain things that I can do to suplex someone, for example, and it's like, I can still throw somebody over the top of me, even though I can't physically lift everyone up yet. So we're trying to gain that strength, obviously, but it's a good, like, first step into being able to throw people about.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, don't you? You got to start somewhere. And again, like, Liam's so good at that as well. Like, I imagine it's something that helps you, I guess, even outside of wrestling, just mentally, right? Just, like, in terms of that belief in yourself of, like, what you can achieve, not even in the ring, just in general day-to-day life. When you know that you can do something, it must expand your horizons to make sure, like, I can do this, because I can, you know, if I can suplex someone in a wrestling ring, I can do something else.
So in November, I will talk about this story because I've not spoken anywhere else. In November, I could not walk through that front door. I had to text Liam every time I was outside and be like, hey Liam, I'm outside. And he'd come and get me and walk me in because I was that afraid of walking in. And then by, like, mid-January, I'd say, I was walking in and hugging people and giving people handshakes, and it's just, I don't know what magic power Liam has, but hey, it's working, because, like, my confidence has been building and building and building ever since November, really. It's
just that aura he has, isn't he? He's got something magic about him. I mean, we mentioned, like, you picked up on it there, and I wanted to speak about sort of, like, your mental health journey, because again, I find it so inspiring, like, sort of what you've been through and what it's taken for you to get to this point. I mean, like, again, in terms of starting wrestling as well, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like, again, just as someone having chatted to you a little bit on Twitter and following, like, your social media and stuff, where it seemed like wrestling, more than necessarily just because you wanted to get in the ring, was this journey in terms of, like, you using it to help your mental health progression and your, like, and things like that. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. Wrestling definitely saved me during the pandemic era. So, like, sort of 2020, maybe even before that. All my years get confused with the pandemic. But
yes, like, time is nothing now.
I'm like, I started wrestling only, 2 years ago, and then I look back and it was like 2020, and I'm like, that's not 2 years ago.
I get it.
I was all a bit confused, but wrestling definitely saved me. Like, Wrestle Carnival was one of the first shows I went to when I was really struggling, and I met Charles Crowley there, and meeting someone like Charles Crowley, like, you can't even put that into words. What a character. He's an insane person. Absolutely. Like, adore him. I think he's incredible. And then from there, I started to meet more and more people. And I was like, actually, this is becoming a bit of a safe haven. Like, it's such a good place to go to, like, get rid of any outside noise. And there was a lot of outside noise going on at the time. So I was like, I just need something else to focus on, and be that going to, like, Progress or Wrestle Carnival or North or anywhere. Wrestling is and probably should be an escape for people. Like, it's a time for you to let go of whatever's going on in your own life and then just enjoy wrestling. Strange concept, I know. It is possible to enjoy wrestling.
I was going to say, it's weird, isn't it? We spoke about it before recording, but like, it's weird that, isn't it, that you can actually enjoy wrestling. I think so many of us are so like, we're so cynical about wrestling now, it's really tough to enjoy it. But it's nice to just like enjoy wrestling.
I mean, New Wave had a show called People Liking Wrestling, so that tells you everything you need to know.
It's all you need to know. Like you say, it's a very bizarre concept. I think just like, again, just be like, oh, I can enjoy this. This is nice without, like you say, all the outside noise of everything else that's gone on in wrestling to distract you. But again, I think your journey in that has been so inspiring, and like your passion for wrestling helping you through that, I think is something that so many people can like learn from. I think whether you like wrestling or not, right, whatever that passion is that you have, like, throw yourself into it and it can help you, right?
Yeah. I threw myself in at the deep end because I was like, at the start of January, I was like, throw yourself in. What's the worst that can happen if you just throw yourself in at the deep end and start attending as many sessions as you can? So then I relocated to Sheffield because I was like, I need to be at Sheffield to train that much. So like, I relocated and it's one of the best decisions I ever made because it's clearly worked so far. So
I was going to say, like, that's a big step as well, because like, and again, I'm not going to age myself, but I feel like I'm a little bit older than you, but like, again, like, you're still like relatively young to relocate to, like, you know, to sort of move your life for wrestling, especially at the age you are. Like, that's a big deal. That's a huge step to take.
My dad called me insane when I said to him I wanted to do it. He was like, "You are insane." I was like, well, call me what you want, I'm doing it.
And that's the dedication, and I love that. And again, like, I think, like, let's be fair, right? Like, most wrestlers are a little insane for doing what they do, right? Like, I think that's a fair statement, right?
Definitely fair.
So you're no more or less insane than any other wrestler who does it.
That's a true point.
Yeah, but it's a huge step, and again, like, it's that thing that I imagine for yourself, again, in the journey you've been on, is like just this another huge step on like that mental health journey in terms of like making yourself feel more comfortable, make yourself more confident, and sort of more, again, confident in who you are and who you want to be. Like, because it's being like, oh, I can do these things that are like big things.
Yeah, so it's not been easy. Like, I'm making this sound like it's been easy. It's really not. There's been lots of up and downs and like times where I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing this. Like, you know, I'm just not good enough, etc., etc. But Liam would quite often catch me in those train of thoughts and be like, hey, you're not yourself. Is everything okay? And then we'd talk about it and he'd be like, trust me, like, you are doing so much more than you think you are. And then it's like a case of like, well, if Liam thinks I'm doing more than I should be or more than I think I am, then maybe I need to like process that. Sit down and be like, you're doing a lot. And then it's a case of like, it's not easy because sometimes you start to compare yourself and you're like, oh, I'm not where I should be. And then I'm like, but also I'm training extremely hard and I'm putting the work in because I want to be stronger. So these things take time. So it's just a case of like being patient with myself, which is the hardest lesson I've had to learn this year.
It's a tough one to learn. There are a lot of people that haven't learned it yet. I'm not a very patient person.
No.
But again, that's awesome. And again, that's why, I mean, we'll get onto it. That's why I assume it must have meant so much to you to have that debut, not just have the debut, but to have it be with Liam.
Yeah.
Like, that must be just like the coolest thing.
It was strangely quite overwhelming at first. I was like, oh, you know, this is a big deal. I'm facing my coach, and like, he's a very good professional wrestler. Imagine if I mess this up. And I was like, putting all of this pressure on myself for weeks. I was like, oh, if I mess this up, it's not going to be good. If I mess this up, it's going to be so bad. And then I come out, and the roof comes off of that place, and I'm like, oh my God. No pressure, guys. Thanks, guys. And then I got in the ring and I was like, this is completely fine. Like, I'm in safe hands and nothing went wrong. So, like, I don't know why I get so in my own head about it, but maybe that's wrestling.
I think it is. But again, like, nothing going wrong for a debut match is like, that's what you want, right? Isn't it? That's the perfect scenario. As long as you get through it and nothing goes wrong, that's great. And again, like, that must be a wild moment. Like, again, like, I saw the video, like, where the crowd is like going wild for you like, as you come out of the curtain. That's got to be like another sort of like almost like a holy shit moment.
Yeah, so I was behind the curtains and I was like, I feel like I'm going to throw up. I don't think I'm going to make it out of this curtain. And then the music started playing and I was like, well, now I've got no choice. I've got to go through the curtain. And then I went through the curtain and like everybody started reacting and I was like, oh wow. And there was a few people in the audience, I won't name names, but there was a few people in the audience and I was like, wow, this really means a lot that this person is watching. Like, actually taking the time to sit down and watch this match. And, yeah, I won't mention names, but, like, to have them there and watching, I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredibly special. And it genuinely means so much to me. Like, I watch it back occasionally, try not to watch it back too much because I'll start picking it apart. But I'm like, oh wow, like, that was really cool. Can't wait to do it again.
I mean, it's amazing. It was great to see you have that match. I mean, like, what did Liam say to you when you went back through the curtain after the match?
Liam said that he was quite proud of me and, like, he was like, well done. Like, he knew how nervous I was beforehand. Like, right as we were about to go out, I was like, oh, I don't know. He's like, I'll see you out there. I was like, oh gosh.
Be like, thanks, cheers, it's fine.
Because once he'd gone, I was like, me next, brilliant. And then I went out and I was completely fine. And it was just a case of like having that moment, come out and like go on the top rope, well, the second rope, and like listen to the crowd. It was just insane because all of the time I've been doing training matches with Liam, it's just been me and Liam. There's been no audience, so I've had no one to react off of. So to finally come out there and there to be so much noise, I was like, this is mental, absolutely mental.
What was that like in terms of like sort of like you say, first experience of a crowd having to sort of like react in the ring as they're reacting? Like, is that tough? Is it tough to like do it the first time?
It was a little bit tough, but I got more used to it as we were going through the match. So at first I was like, I just didn't fully acknowledge it, and then I was like, oh wait, there's a crowd there, and I can hear them chanting, Skylar Rose, all that. I need to start reacting. So then I started to react, and there's a moment in the match, I think it might be after the match actually, where I'm using the rope to help me get up, and I look out to the crowd and I smile because I know that like I've actually done something really cool. So I'm looking out and I just smile and I'm like, oh my god, I've done this. Can't believe that this has happened.
And again, like we said earlier, that's the moment I imagine that you look out, like you smile and you think like, okay, all that travel, all those late nights, all the getting home at 1 a.m. is worth it now because I've done this. Absolutely.
Like, it was just insane. And then to have Liam pull me to the centre of the ring and be like, well done, I'm so proud of you. I was like, oh my gosh. I've actually done it, like, for so long I didn't feel like it was possible. I always sort of had the idea that I might want to do a match, but it was always like maybe just one match. Now it's like, give me everyone. Like, I'm facing everyone. Like, let me face everyone.
I mean, talk of everyone. I mean, like, of course, the next natural step after debut match against Liam Slater is to call out Lou Nixon, right? Like, it's just the obvious next phase.
Listen, he started this, to be fair. He wants to get in my face and hold that championship up, that's fine. And he attacks me from behind, now we've got a problem. I don't know what his problem is, but we're going to find out sooner rather than later. It's one thing for him to, like, get in my face. Anyone can get in my face. I'm fine with you getting in my face. I haven't got a problem with that. But it's when he attacked me from behind, now I'm like, okay, we really need to sort this out, because that's not the Lou that I know. The Lou that I know is absolutely lovely, and that's not the Lou that I just met. So, well, the one that just attacked me from behind wasn't so kind.
No, it's clearly a jealousy thing. He's jealous that you got that reaction on your debut.
Well,
he's like,
well, we're definitely going to have to find out what the problem is, because, like I said, that's not him, and I don't know if he's going to accept the challenge. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, but hopefully he does, because I want to find out what his problem is.
Are we going to? What are we talking though? Are we doing whatever it takes? You know, hardcore match, death match. How far are you going to push it?
if he wants to take it that far, I'll do it. But that's up to him. Like, if he wants to keep attacking me and pushing me, I'm gonna snap at some point. So the choice is his, really. Like, I'm being quite nice about this, to be fair. I'm very frustrated about the way that he attacked me from behind. Why do you feel the need to attack me from behind? That's not you. That's not Lou. He's one of the best wrestlers. Why does he feel the need to attack me from behind? I don't understand it.
Yeah, there's something up with Lou in there. There's something up there. You just got to figure out what it is.
But if he wants to keep pushing and pushing and pushing me, there's gonna come a point where I snap, and then he won't like it. So.
I was gonna say, like, I've seen a couple of your pro hits. Like, I feel like I've seen enough of you on social media to know that you probably don't want to get on your bad side. Like, that seems like it's the bad thing to do.
Listen, the ball's in Lou's court. I've set that challenge out. Whether he accepts it or not, that's in his hands. But if he doesn't answer it soon, then maybe I'm gonna have to take things into my own hands. But
I love it. Oh, I'm excited to see where this goes. I mean, like, in terms of that, obviously, again, Lou is pushing his luck at the minute. But, I mean, like, who else is out there for Skylar Rose? Who else is on, like, your, like, bucket list of people to face next? Who would you want to face in that either in that PPW ring or anywhere else?
I've got a very long list.
I imagine.
Eve Bateman is very close to the top of that list. Obviously, Lou's at the top, but Eve is very, very close second. Alfie is another wrestler that I would love to face. There is, oh my gosh, there is so many people. I don't know what it is, but everyone seems to want me to fight Kemper. I don't know what that's about, but like, no thanks.
That's the thing, you set the standard with Lou now, and now you're just, everyone's just fantasy booking you against these big bruisers.
It's like, yeah, okay, like, Lou started that fight with me. Kemper's not gonna start a fight, or at least I hope not, like, like, I don't want no piece of Kemper. I'm sorry, I'm being good. Yeah. Don't put me up against Kemper.
Kemper's going to come after you. That's the thing. You're gonna smash Lou. You're going to be standing there over Lou like lying prone on the mat, and Kemper's going to be like, "Oh man."
I hope so. I mean, that's the end goal. Like, everyone should be afraid of me. Like, yeah, because I'm strong. But yeah, the list is growing and growing and growing. Like Emerson Jane, that'd be lovely.
Oh.
Rio. There's so many different talents, and yeah, Natalie Sykes.
Love Nat, she's great.
There's so many people.
Yeah, it's a long list, but you got time. You got time to get through it.
Yeah.
You got time, which is brilliant. Like, what does, like, in terms of, apart from Lou, who we've already established, like, what does the rest of the year hold for you in terms of training, in terms of, like, hopefully more in ring stuff? Like, what would you sort of like to achieve in terms of, like, you've had that debut match now? What's the next goal? Do you have, like, a next goal on the list?
I want to start branching out, so there's, like, a few promotions I've got my eyes on. I've not yet been in contact with them, but there are a few promotions I've got my eyes on. One of them being Bridge Pro Wrestling, another one being OTP. That's in Warrington. That'd be pretty good. Like I said, there's no distance I'm not willing to travel. I think it's quite well known that I am willing to travel however far. Long-term goal would be Eve, but that is obviously quite a long way away. But yeah, there's a lot of different promotions I've got my eyes on. Odyssey is another one that people just talk about, so I've definitely got my eyes on that. I need to get to a show. So yeah, there's just so many promotions. North, again, long-term goal. I want to have Tom Campbell announce me to the ring. That is a very long-term goal, but like that one is, I'm determined to have it. I'm determined. Nothing's going to stop me from having Tom Campbell announce me to the ring.
Tom's the one you want, isn't he? Tom is, like, so good. Like, the energy he puts into it, you'd be like, oh, hell yeah.
it would be incredible to have him announce me just once. He's been quite far behind the Lou Nixon fight. He has called people cowards for not booking it. He's quite out there, and he wants people to book it, and it's a matter of time. Like, if Lou accepts, we've got to get Lou to accept it first.
You got to get Lou to accept it. You got to get Tom to announce it. That can be it.
I mean, you're onto something there.
Tom, if you're watching this,
social media, manifest it.
Yeah, Tom, if you see this, let's make it happen.
Yes.
Let's get Skylar Rose versus Lou Nixon. Tom Campbell as the guest announcer.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah! I think we all deserve to see it.
We absolutely do. Like,
yes.
This has to go out on socials. Like,
yeah.
Tom Campbell, we need you to announce.
You've got to make this happen. It's all on you, Tom. We're looking at you now. This has got to happen.
Right.
It's all on you.
No pressure, Tom.
No pressure. It's not happening without you. It's your choice.
You've got to book it, Tom.
Come on. Get it done. Give the people what they want. Yes. Oh, we need it. We need it. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I mean, in terms of that, like, we talked about sort of like the progression you've had and how far you've come. Like, when we look at it just like, not even from just the wrestling aspect, but also like the mental aspect in terms of like who you are as a person now. Like, what would you say to sort of like pre-COVID Skylar, watching this, who like didn't know what was coming ahead, in terms of like that sort of like that message of like, no, you're going to be okay because look at where you are now. Like,
I think the most important thing I would say is like keep going, because the amount of times I wanted to give up, like, it was just ridiculous. The amount of times I wanted to give up. So the one thing I'd say is like keep pushing, keep going. No matter how many obstacles get put in front of you, you keep smashing through them. Every single one of them. I don't know how you did it, but you did it. And now look at us. So,
you did do it.
Just keep working. Just keep doing it. You've got it.
I love that. And you did smash it. You really did. You really did. I mean, like, again, as someone who only, like, especially, like, after we set up Graft Theory, which, again, was just coming out of COVID, of knowing you on social media and, like, following your journey, like, even then, just as only knowing you through that, it seems like it's, I imagine, for you, quite a night and day in terms of who you were back then and who you are now.
I don't even recognise the two. Like, if you got me now versus me then, I don't think I'd be able to recognise them because of how far I've come. Which is a bit insane to say, but, like, I've worked so hard to, like, develop on all aspects of that, be it eating, be it training, be it gym, be it wrestling, be it absolutely everything. Like, I just worked and worked and worked, and even though there was quite a few times where I was like, I can't do this anymore, I still found a way to keep going, and I don't know how I did it. There was many times where I don't know how I did it, but, you know, it's made me into the fighter I am today, so.
Yeah, and genuinely, like, your journey's been incredible. Like, I know this is the first time we've spoken properly, like, off social media, but, like, as someone who, like, again, hasn't even met you face to face, like, crazy proud of you and the journey you've had. Like, it's really inspirational. It truly is.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a lot of hard work.
Yeah, and you deserve it. You really do. You really do. I mean, we're going to get into a little feature here that we have now, and it's called The Matches That Shaped My Life. So, again, I'm going to give you some, like, questions, and I want you to let me know which wrestling match or wrestling moment sort of comes to mind for each one.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is the first match I remember watching.
The Shield versus the Wyatts. I believe it was an elimination chamber. Not sure on that, but
that's a great first match. Oh man, yes, that's an insane introduction to wrestling.
It was mental, absolutely mental.
Well, I was going to say, because the next one is obviously is very similarly known from that. It's sort of like it's the match that made me fall in love with wrestling.
Ooh. There's been a few, but I will say the one that got me into falling in love with wrestling, which was Eddie Kingston versus Cody Rhodes, when Eddie Kingston first made his AEW debut.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great match.
Yeah.
What was it about that like that clicked with you so much?
it was the way that Eddie come out and was like, no, listen up. This is how we're going to do it. And from there, I fell in love with Eddie. Like, I've watched his promos, I watch his matches all of the time. I'm like, he's so real. And that's what I love about it. I'm like, if there's anyone that, like, I can take a page out of their book from, it's Eddie, like, being real. So, yeah, I've learned a lot, and he was what made me fall in love with wrestling.
I love that, because Eddie, again, like, we've had other people say it as well, Eddie's the sort of guy where, like, if you're someone who, like, looks at themselves and is like, I don't have what it takes to be a wrestler, like, look at Eddie Kingston, because he's the one that gets that, or he still gets that. He's, like, one of the best in the world. He still gets, like, oh, there's no way this guy should be a wrestler.
And it's insane to think, because he kills it every time he's out there, and I'm like, you're telling me that Eddie can't be a wrestler, and you're telling me that I can't be a wrestler because I'm too small, and he's too big. Stop it. Give it a rattle.
Yeah, big up Eddie. What a guy. Absolutely love him. Absolutely love him. The next one is the first live show I went to.
I'm not entirely sure which one it was, but it was a Progress show, and it had Pretty Deadly on it. I remember that
a little
one.
while ago. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of the show. All I know is that I've got a picture of me and Pretty Deadly doing the fingers, and I was like, cool.
Nice.
So
how was it as like a first live experience?
Yeah. Now look at where they are. It's insane.
Now you could be in that ring one day. You could be in that ring.
I hope so. One day.
Lee, again, if you're watching it, that's the Tom Campbell. That's it. Doesn't even need to be up north. Brilliant. The next one is the match that I wish I'd seen live.
Oh, I'm not sure. Oh my gosh, there's so many.
There's a lot, isn't there? That's a tough one. I know it's a tough one.
The whole Evolution pay-per-view that was in like 2016 or 2018, can't remember exactly when. I wish I'd have been there to see that, because that was the real turning point for women wrestlers in WWE. So I was like, I wish I could have been there to see that.
Big milestone moment, yeah. No, it's a good choice. I like it. The next one we've spoken about, it's my first match, and we know your first match. Liam Slater. Easy first match, right? Easy first match.
Well, he had to cheat to beat me, so like we're gonna have to rewrite that.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's gotta be as well, sort of like validating as well. When like your coach has got to cheat to beat you, you gotta be like, wow, come on.
And set the standard high.
Liam, you're better than that. You're better than that, Liam. Come on.
Yeah, Liam. What's that?
The next one, of course, is the classic My Dream Match.
Ooh.
Is there? I know you've got a few, but is there one that stands out above the rest?
Honestly, me versus Lana.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool, because obviously she's helped train me as well. So to have that would be really, really cool. I think I would be an emotional wreck after that. I was an emotional wreck after me versus Liam, but I think I would be even more emotional after that one.
Yeah.
I hope that happens one day.
That would be amazing. And if she brings Rob along and tries any funny business, you can just call in like LA Taylor or something.
Yes, I mean LA Taylor would be another great match to have. I seem to like putting myself in the underdog situation.
I was going to say, yeah, you do enjoy that, don't you? It's
I seem to thrive under it. Me versus Lou and me versus LA is both going to be quite the underdog.
I was going to say, yeah, your neck's just going to be sore from looking up the whole time.
It will all be worth it. It'll all be worth it.
Hell yeah, it will. The next one's a tricky one, because I always say to people, it's like the match that I wish I'd had. So like a match that's already out there, like you say, like Eddie, Cody, or something like that, but like that you would like to insert yourself into. So to make it like a 3-way or a 4-way or a like something to add yourself into a match.
Oh, I don't know, because I'm not at that level yet.
It doesn't have to be at that level. It can be at like an indie level or something. But like, just a match that you might have seen like anywhere where you're like, oh, that would have been a cool match to be in.
Well, I count it from like a special guest referee point of view. Liam Slater versus Jonathan Gresham would have been really cool. I mean, like, I'd love the idea of having a Pure Rules match at some point, but like just like being there as a referee, just watching that, I can't imagine what that would be like.
You've like done a bit of refereeing as well, haven't you? You've like dabbled in a bit of refereeing. You just want to do it all. You just like not content with it. You just like, I'm going to do everything. It'll be fine.
Jack of all trades. Like, if a show's running short, they've only got one referee, and once I've got a bit more experience under my belt, I can be like, here, like, let me just get changed and I can come and help. Like, sometimes people need to book more than one referee, and, you know, I get that illnesses happen and things, but, like, if you can help referees out, because sometimes they are left in doing, like, 10, 11 matches on their own, and, yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, like you say, that's like, it's something that like I haven't really thought about a lot, but you're right in terms of like, even if like every show, even if you only booked one referee, just to have maybe a wrestler or someone who knows how to referee as like a backup in case something happens is like super important.
It's something that I've always had in mind on like, how can I make myself stand out, and got something under my belt to use that and be like, well, I've got more than one thing that I can help with. So I like to try and get as many things under my belt as possible.
Yeah, and I imagine it gives you like a different way to look at it as well. Like you see the match from another perspective, and that probably helps you as a wrestler as well.
It definitely did. So when I first started doing it with Greenwood at Manchester in Beach Shock PC, I started to realise certain things about how you can use your referee, not like in a bad way, but like be like, oh, we need you to do this. Oh, we need you to look away for this point. Like, there's going to be interference. You don't want to see that. And then like, oh, I need you to pass this message on to this wrestler. Oh, I've forgotten what's coming up. Can you ask so-and-so what's next? Like, you don't realise how important a referee is until like, you need a referee, and you always need a referee to have a match. So, yeah, just learning from Greenwood has been incredible. Like,
I was going to say the Liam Slater of referees, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what a guy to learn. As long as, again, like I see him like busting these weird almost dancey moves on social media a lot, and I'm like, just don't learn. You don't need to learn that part of it. That's just Greenwood.
No.
That's like that can stay as his thing.
Yeah, that's definitely a Greenwood thing. That's not my referee warm-up, don't worry.
It's like, all right, not all referees are like that. It's fine. It's fine. Big up Greenwood. What a guy.
So many great referees around that just, they deserve all the credit in the world. Like, there's so many. I'm not even going to begin to try and list some because there's just so many, but all of you deserve, like, the world and more for keeping us safe. Like,
Yes, the referees union, the British Wrestling Referees Union, actually, just globally, the referees union in wrestling. Yes, big up, all of you. You do fantastic work. Brilliant work. And yeah, again, super underappreciated.
Absolutely. I can't believe how many people, like, underappreciate ref. Saves every part of your match. Like, what more could you need?
It's those moments, isn't it, where, like, again, the ref looks away and you know that they can just, like, you're like, turn around. That's the underappreciated part. You're like, why are you turning around? They always get the hate when something goes wrong, but they never get the praise when it goes right.
Yeah. Unbelievable. But
Love it. No, yeah, big up refs. Big up refs. The next one is, again, this doesn't have to be a match. This can be, like, a moment or something that you love about wrestling, but it's like someone comes to you and asks you, what is professional wrestling? What would you show them?
Probably that Eddie Kingston versus Cody match. But if I'm talking like on an independent level, I would show them Michael Oku versus Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No doubt in my mind.
Unbelievable match. And like the stuff that Mike has done since, Mike and Amira as well. Like, big up Amira. Yeah. We love Amira here on the podcast. Like, the stuff they've done the last couple of years is absolutely mental.
They're definitely on the bucket list of people I want to meet. I've not even met them yet, but like on the list.
Mike, Amira, if you're watching it, again, let's make it happen. Let's get it done.
Yes.
Let's set this up. Yeah, we need it. This would be great. I mean, like, again, Amira's just crazy anyway. Like, she's going to be... that reminds me, actually. We've got a new feature here on the podcast. I'm going to detour from this because we've only got one question left on it anyway. But we've got a new feature here on the podcast. Simply to, not poke fun, but simply to gauge who people would put up against Oku and Amira. So, obviously, Oku and Amira have been smashing it at Rev Pro at the minute. And actually, not just at Rev Pro, all over the fucking world. But... Amira is always getting herself involved in the matches, always in these like stunning outfits as well. I don't know how she does it. I don't know how she gets in the ring in those outfits, but it's incredible. But my question now is, again, relatively new feature. You're only the third person to answer it. So, is you're facing Michael Oku, and of course Amira's in his corner, and she's going to interfere at some point because you know she just loves it. She just loves getting in the ring. But who would you have in your corner to counteract Amira? Who would be the ideal person to counteract Amira?
It's got to be either Vicky Haskins or Lana Austin, because they're both incredible at doing the same thing. So why not have someone try and beat Amira at her own game?
Yeah, think alike. I like it. It's a smart call. I'm into it. They had that, didn't they? They had at North, wasn't it? It was Oku and Oku and Haskins. Yeah, I mean, like again, I think that needs to be a tag match somewhere. That's got to happen down the line somewhere. That takes us back to the last one. We've sort of picked up on this last one over the course of this chat, but it's I love wrestling because
it's just a great escape. Like wrestling feels like home to me. So, like, what better way to sit down and relax than by watching wrestling? And sometimes it's hard to do that because I'm now a wrestler, but to sit there and to like watch a match and go, oh, that was really cool, it's nice to be able to escape from the real world.
I love that. I think that's perfect. Actually, how weird does that sound, by the way, to now say I am a wrestler now? Does that sound weird?
I don't like saying it in some ways because I'm like, I've only had one match, come on now. But everyone said to me after I made the debut, start calling yourself a wrestler, and I'm like, am I though? So I'm still trying to get used to it, but I think once that fight happens with Lou, maybe.
I mean, like, I think you definitely are, but yeah, if you face big Lou Nixon, then undoubtedly, like, there's no question.
If I fight Lou and survive, then I can count myself as a wrestler.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair. He's a big guy, isn't he? Yeah, he's a big guy. Well, I think that's a really nice way to end, bring into our final question. Because, Skylar, I have one more question here for you, but it's not a question that's been left by me, because we have a closing tradition here on the podcast where our last guest leaves a question for our next guest without any context of who they're going to be leaving it for. So the person who left you this had no idea that you were coming on next and that they were leaving this question for you. So the question you have been left, it's quite a good one. Actually. I think it's one that everyone definitely has an answer to. It's a very crucial wrestling question. What is your favourite condiment?
Mayonnaise. It's just mayonnaise.
Yeah. Classic. Yes. Yeah. Too many people say ketchup. Mayo is king.
Mayo is so superior. Like, I will fight people over that. Try me.
Yeah. Like, you know that like, is it? I wouldn't call it a meme. It's that image on like you see on social media where it's like a plate of fries covered in ketchup, and it's like, ketchup doesn't exist. What are you putting on it? I'm like, well, I wouldn't put ketchup on it in the first place.
Exactly.
Like,
who would put ketchup on food?
Yeah,
no.
If you're putting ketchup on it, you're already doing it wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, just give up at that point. Like, throw the whole lot in the bin. Why bother?
You get it. I'm glad you get it. Well, Skylar Rose, thank you so much for coming on the Grapple Theory podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, no, it's been brilliant hearing about your journey. And again, like, you've been such an inspiration. I think like anyone who follows your journey should be inspired to do what they want to do, just based on how you've done your journey and the work you put in. It really is incredible. So big up to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
No, of course. I can't wait to see where your career takes you next. Again, obviously beating Big Lou first, and then who knows after that. We'll see. But we always, of course, end the podcast by giving our guests the final bit of promo time. So if anyone's watching this or has followed you on social media and wants to come and see what you're made of in the ring, wants to come and see you face Big Lou Nixon, wants to come and see Tom Campbell announce you to the ring, I mean, what would you say to anyone watching this as to why Skylar Rose is going to be taking over British wrestling?
I'll be taking over British wrestling because, I don't know, I just, for me, it's the taking over of my own mind before I take over the British wrestling scene. It's a case of like, okay, you've done one, so now let's see how many we can do. And maybe that next match is going to be Lou. Maybe it'll be someone else before it is Lou. But we're just going to keep going. And I hope that someday I am able to take on like Lana Austin, LA Taylor, Lucia Lee. There's so many different people. I could be here all night naming different people. But for now, it's just a case of taking things one step at a time and seeing where we end up. If you want to follow my journey though, I'm at Skylar Rose PW on Instagram and Twitter, nice and easy. I try and keep it the same so it doesn't drive people insane. And if Lou accepts that challenge, we are waiting to see, then it will be going up on YouTube, on Pursuit Pro Wrestling's YouTube. So be on the lookout for that. That one will be insane if it happens.